They just wanted to experience the thrill of dancing at extreme heights, so this group of young people started partying atop the Skyview restaurant, suspended 100 meters in the air. But while everyone was having the time of their lives, no one noticed the cracks slowly forming in the glass floor beneath them. With a sudden crack, the entire platform gave way, and the crowd plunged straight toward the ground. This is Final Destination, Bloodlines, the most anticipated thrill ride of 2025. In its opening week, the film grossed $290 million and scored a 9.7 rating on review platforms. The story begins with a proposal. Handsome young Paul is bringing his beautiful girlfriend Iris to a party at a newly opened Sky restaurant in downtown Texas. The restaurant, designed by a real estate company to attract young people, stands 131.4 meters above the ground, offering not only breathtaking views, but also lively festivities. Hoping to give Iris an unforgettable moment, Paul plans to propose to her at the top. But just as Iris steps into the elevator, filled with excitement, a mischievous child starts jumping inside. Fortunately, the elevator is well built, and all the guests safely reach the restaurant. However, when Iris looks down, a wave of dizziness suddenly hits her. She assumes it's just a fear of heights and brushes it off. Just as she turned to leave, a waiter popping a bottle of champagne accidentally launched the cork, knocking a crystal loose from the chandelier. Yet none of the chatting guests seem to notice what just happened. Out in the hallway, Paul pulls out a diamond ring from his pocket and, surrounded by cheers, slips it onto Iris's finger. But as the couple revels in the joy of their engagement, a woman's hat is blown away by a gust of wind.
Hey, don't throw that penny. It could kill somebody.
Oh, I'm so sorry, of course. Yeah.
Seeing the stern-faced waiter return, the little boy quickly stops messing around. But once the waiter leaves, the boy doesn't give up. He throws a coin off the edge. What he doesn't notice is that the coin doesn't fall down. It gets swept into the restaurant's ventilation system. The rolling coin hits a ventilation fan, which spins at high speed and flings it out. The coin then crashes into a gas pipe nearby. Inside the restaurant, the crowd gathers in the center for a dance party, unaware that cracks in the glass floor are spreading rapidly, and the supporting steel beams are coming loose. To liven things up, the host asks everyone to jump in unison. Seeing the shattered glass below, Iris is frozen in terror, but the nightmare is only just beginning. A woman, not noticing the fire pit behind her, accidentally sets her clothes on fire. Panicking, she runs wildly only to stumble right into a gas leak. Flames erupt instantly and the restaurant becomes an inferno. A quick-thinking waiter urges the surviving guests to escape through the emergency exit. But just as everyone rushes into the passage, the outer wall suddenly collapses, and the panicked guests all fall to their deaths. Only the little boy survives by sheer luck. Realizing the escape route is compromised, some survivors rush to the elevator. But the elevator is overloaded, and the steel cables snap. Everyone inside plunges down in an instant, but the worst is yet to come. The building's load-bearing structure is now unstable, and one side of the tower begins to collapse. Luckily, a piano lands at the weak spot, halting the collapse and leaving the restaurant hanging in midair. But just when the guests thought they were safe, the coin the little boy had thrown earlier slid during the shaking and landed on the teetering piano. As the restaurant falls, Iris is left completely devastated. While she stands paralyzed by fear, a small boy emerges from the rubble. Even though she's barely holding on herself, Iris doesn't abandon him. She picks up the boy and starts looking for a way out. But suddenly the floor beneath them gives way and both of them fall. Staring at the wreckage below, Iris is certain she's about to die. But to her surprise, the next second, she was suddenly back 10 minutes earlier. Looking at the woman who almost fell and then glancing at the same little boy, Iris realizes what just happened might not have been a hallucination. This time, she doesn't stay silent. She stops the boy from throwing the coin. She then rushes back into the restaurant, extinguishes the fire pit, and warns everyone about the cracks in the glass. Thanks to Iris's warnings, the entire catastrophe is successfully prevented. But just when Iris thought she had saved everyone, those who were meant to die in that disaster still met tragic ends. One by one, they all died in a series of bizarre accidents. Time quickly jumped ahead, 50 years. That afternoon, a woman arrived outside Iris's home. Her name was Stephanie, and she was Iris's granddaughter. Earlier that morning, Stephanie had received a call from Iris, urgently asking her to come over. Stephanie thought her grandmother was finally ready to hand over her inheritance. But when she arrived at the house, she was shocked to see the yard filled with sharp obstacles, almost as if the place was fortified against intruders. As she stepped inside and was about to greet Iris, her grandmother immediately told her not to come any closer. Stephanie was already used to her grandmother's odd behavior. For years, Iris had been talking about being hunted by death itself. To avoid being found, she had barely left the house. If not for the phone call, Stephanie wouldn't have come at all. Iris pulled a notebook from a drawer and solemnly told Stephanie that she had cancer and didn't have much time left. Before she passed, she wanted to reveal the entire truth to her descendants. It turned out that Iris was supposed to die in that accident 50 years ago, but by seeing the future, she had changed fate. That meant Stephanie and all of their children and grandchildren were never supposed to be born. To correct this mistake, death would stop at nothing to kill them all. But despite her grandmother's serious tone, Stephanie didn't believe her. She thought Iris was just suffering from dementia. Before Iris could explain further, Stephanie made up an excuse and prepared to leave, but she forgot to take the notebook Iris had prepared for her. That notebook contained years of documentation Iris had gathered from each strange death. Hoping her granddaughter could survive, Iris ran after her with the notebook. But right then, Iris died a sudden and gruesome death, leaving Stephanie in utter shock. When news of Iris's death reached the family, all her relatives returned to the old house. Over the years, Iris's family had grown to include 8 members, 6 of them direct descendants. They held a grand funeral in Iris's honor. After the service, the long-separated family gathered at Stephanie's home for a barbecue party, but just as everyone was celebrating, tragedy struck again. A wine bottle was accidentally knocked over and struck the washing machine, and the vibrating machine caused the iron rake leaning against the wall to fall.
Sorry. Whoa!
Watching her uncle die so horrifically, Stephanie remembered her grandmother's warning. Could death really be targeting their entire family? She opened Iris's notebook and reviewed the detailed records. After organizing the data, she uncovered something terrifying. She called the family together and told them everything Iris had revealed. Every single person who survived the restaurant incident and their descendants had all died in accidents. If just a few had perished, it might be seen as coincidence. But all of them, that defied explanation. Now, their family was the last group of survivors. Stephanie believed death had finally come for them. What's worse, she discovered a pattern in Iris's notes. Death was killing them in order of age. Uncle Howard was the oldest, and now that he was gone, next in line would be his son, Eric, followed by Eric's younger sister, Julia. When Eric heard he was the next target, he just laughed it off. Since everyone had jobs to get back to, the family members gradually left the house. But that very night, something horrifying happened. While cleaning his shop, Eric found a bottle of alcohol had tipped over. As he bent down to pick it up, a decorative iron chain suddenly dropped from above. Moments later, the store was engulfed in flames. When Stephanie heard the news, she rushed to Eric's house with her younger brother, Charlie. But when they arrived at the intersection, they saw Eric completely unharmed. It turned out Eric hadn't died in the fire after all. He had freed himself from the chain just before the flames reached him. Stephanie thought maybe death had missed. She warned Eric to be more careful. But even after her warning, Eric still didn't take it seriously. Just then, Stephanie noticed a broken tree branch and some scattered leaves on the grass nearby. If death was planning another accident, these would be perfect tools. As Stephanie was warning Eric, Julia came out of the house for her morning jog and greeted them warmly. But the moment Julia turned to leave, another accident struck. They saw Julia accidentally knocked into a trash bin by a soccer ball, then dragged away by the garbage truck, and they hurriedly chased after it. Eric blocked the truck while Stephanie climbed onto the roof to try and rescue Julia, but suddenly, the truck's compactor activated, and Julia was crushed on the spot. News of Julia's death brought the whole family together again. This time, they began to believe what Stephanie had been saying. But Eric was supposed to be Howard's firstborn, so why did Julia die first? Stephanie assumed she must have made a mistake in the birth order. But Julia's mother, Brenda, told everyone that Stephanie's calculation was correct. Julia was actually Howard's first child. As for Eric, Brenda had been 90% sure he was Howard's, but now it seemed he wasn't. Learning that he was the result of a one-night affair, Eric was completely stunned. Now that Julia was gone, the next in line would be from the second branch of the family. That would be Bobby, since his parents had died years ago. Stefani remembered in Iris's notes a survivor named William, someone who had escaped death's curse and was still alive. This man now lived in a psychiatric hospital in the city, and if they could find him, they might discover a way to break the curse. To avoid any danger, the family decided to take an RV to visit William. After some trouble, they finally located William at the hospital. He turned out to be the boy Iris had saved from the ruins years ago. Hearing that Iris had passed away, William looked slightly saddened. Stefani wanted to know how to break the curse, but William said there were only two ways. To break the curse, you either had to kill someone else to trade lives or enter a state of fake death. William had accidentally fallen into a fake death years ago, which tricked Death into thinking he was gone. Only when Death believes you're truly dead does the curse end. Looking at Bobby, Eric suddenly had an idea. Bobby was allergic to nuts, so they could have him eat nuts and then bring him back just as he was on the verge of death. That way, maybe they could outsmart the curse. Everyone agreed it was a clever plan. They brought Bobby to the hospital, had him eat some nuts, and placed him in a wheelchair to wait, ready to resuscitate him the moment his heart stopped. But Eric didn't realize he had accidentally turned on the MRI machine when he shut the door. Then tragedy struck. Seeing the surrounding metal objects being pulled away, Bobby realized something was wrong. He got up to check, but a spring from the vending machine, pulled by magnetic force, shot out. Bobby and Eric were both killed instantly. Losing two family members at once left Stefani in total shock. It seemed the fake death plan was too risky to try again, but none of them had the heart to kill someone else. After thinking it through, Stefani remembered Iris's old house. Iris had survived for 50 years by hiding in the old house, so they could go there to hide for now and come out only after they figured out a solution. The remaining family agreed it was worth trying. Stefani started the RV and drove them toward the old house. After hours of bumpy travel, they finally arrived. But as they pulled up, Stefani saw a spark flash across the metal gate. She realized Death might already be setting the next trap. She floored the gas and drove the RV straight into the yard. What she didn't know was that her impulsive decision had triggered the tragedy. Darlene had just stepped out of the vehicle when a flower pot suddenly fell, shattering a gas pipe. At the same time, electricity from the gate traveled through the metal roof. A single spark landed in just the wrong place, igniting the leaking gas. The explosion sent the RV flying into a nearby pond. Stephanie didn't escape in time and inhaled water, knocking her unconscious. Thankfully, her brother Charlie was nearby. He rushed to pull her out and perform CPR. After several minutes of effort, Stephanie finally woke up. The siblings didn't dare stay. They fled the burning house immediately. As they left, flames engulfed the old home, reducing it to ashes. Including Darlene, Iris's direct descendants were now down to just Stefani and Charlie. Maybe because of Stephanie's near drowning, no more accidents occurred in the following 5 months. Stefani believed that nearly drowning had somehow broken the curse. It just so happened that today was Charlie's 18th birthday. To celebrate his coming of age and their apparent escape from the curse, Stefani's mother hosted a small banquet, but no one noticed what happened midway through the party. An elderly woman, while pulling out change, accidentally dropped a coin. The coin rolled across the ground and somehow landed on the train tracks, jamming the rails. At that moment, Stefani still had no idea that death had already arrived. While chatting with a doctor, Stephanie learned something horrifying. The time she died wasn't actually a fake death. She had only passed out. That didn't count. Hearing this, Stefani was filled with dread. Just as she was thinking about what kind of accident might happen, she turned around and saw a train speeding toward her. The last of Iris's bloodline was wiped out, and that wraps up the full story of Final Destination 6, the latest thrilling horror film of 2025. Overall, the movie delivers a solid experience. That's all for today's recap. See you next time.